Get ready and strap in for the One Love HTX show, where all our conversations are always raw, unfiltered, and never staged. We can also be found on Instagram, all major streaming platforms, and westcliff.org. Check us out at onelovehtx.org for more info or ways to support the show. Now get ready to dive into conversations you won't always have in church with your hosts, Joshua Duffy and Daniel Salsi.
All right. We are back with another episode.
Hello.
One Love HTX, Westcliff in the house, just hanging out here. We're in a new space right now.
We are.
I'm loving, this is again, I told you about Pilgrim Church. If you're in the area here in the Houston area, a couple episodes back, and we had to utilize this space, this true old natural stained glass is just beautiful. There's actually all around here. There's such I told Duffy, it's like a reverence in here and a beauty of the old, which I think is just so cool. So you get the oldness, the coolness, the reverence, and then you get Duffy with you
get the baldness.
Boom.
The baldness.
I love it. So we've been on this journey.
Yeah.
We just finished a 3-part series on shame and guilt and the effects of it. And then we ended with a true life story of my sweet little daughter who I hope y'all got to listen to it. If y'all didn't listen to it, go back. It's labeled Rain Salsi, her testimony, her story. But it's really cool. But it's really interesting because we're coming to this one and trying to come up with, what's the next topic? Because we got a whole bunch of them.
Yeah.
And this one, I think, ties in really well. And I'm going to lean heavily on Duffy for this because he has the connection with Dr. Looney. You've heard me talk about Dr. Looney, too, that does a lot of stuff with Duffy on Westcliff, who is a psychiatrist? Psychiatrist,
yeah.
So licensed psychiatrist. They have great conversations. And this is something that is so normal now that I want to talk about. And it's gaming, but it's not just gaming. It's also other things that are going on in our lives, again, that seem so normal to us. And they might be. I mean, let me tell you, I loved my Sega Genesis. I loved.
Dang, just drop the Sega Genesis. Oh, man. Let's go Excite Bike, Nintendo while we're at it.
I mean, I loved video games as a kid. I really did. And yeah, they were different. Excite Bike. Oh, my goodness. So, and I, of course, I had the original Nintendo 64.
Okay, let's back up. Do you think people just spent hours playing Pong when it dropped? Or
yes.
In television?
Pitfall.
Do you see how far back we just went in television? You're 50 plus years of age if you even know what in television is, let alone Pong.
Wait. You're giving my secrets away, man. No, but yeah, I mean, I remember when Pitfall came out on it was in television, by Activision. My cousin and I, because they were rich enough, they had that game as soon as it came out. I can remember getting in trouble, get away from the TV.
Yeah.
Because we were on it nonstop. So this is nothing new. There's always some kind of a distraction and not necessarily even a distraction. It could just be something fun, but what are you doing with it? So that's the real key. So I wanted to get your insight on, gaming, social media, all this stuff. It doesn't make it bad just because you do it.
Right.
But how can it affect the natural course of our life when it starts to get dangerous or
Well, here's what I was thinking about. What about I think with a lot of things falling under this category nowadays, and I would call it escapism.
Okay.
It's the desire to escape my reality. And video games, as an example, are getting so good and seem so real. Like on my Instagram, I have to do a double, triple take sometimes if that was an actual highlight that I just saw, or is that a computer generated thing?
Yeah.
And I do think there's something about, and I think it even bleeds into social media, wanting to and desiring to live in an alternate reality.
Yeah.
Because that reality is better than my own. But I think you talked about it. I mean, you can have fun, but there's some level where it like crosses over.
Right.
And I think we all fall victim of that, even as children. I know, like, even with my kids, we have them on a strict, like, 45 minutes. You can do 15 minutes at a time. If you want 45 minutes, you're done.
Right.
That's it. Because, like, even with our children, we finally really kind of zeroed in on, like, they change throughout the day the longer they play. Their attitude, their desire to have something now, patience with one another, they're more irritable. So it makes me wonder how all these things kind of feed together. And I've kind of wondered if it doesn't actually fit under a greater topic, which is escapism. And when I think of escapism, I think it's a desire to not be around and look at reality. And culture is so all too willing to keep us distracted and wanting us pulled out of our reality. So we don't have to look at how my life is going. We don't have to analyze how could I better myself or think deeply about the things of God. If I want to just feel better right now, all I have to do is this thing, and I can 3 or 4 or 5 hours can go away, and I can accomplish something that is epic in 5 hours versus dedicating my life for the next 5 years or 50 years to something epic.
Right.
I think, is that making sense?
Yeah,
I think
absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I mean, again, I'm going back to just my life. I mean, let me just not lie here. There was a time when I came back from Dallas to live in Houston.
Yeah.
And I started my own company. I was in my early 20s. I was like, I'm going to start selling hair care products. And so I started selling hair care products. I met a guy in New York who spotted me and said, I know you can do this. Go do it. Well, the challenge was Sega Genesis was out.
Oh, what are you going to do?
And Sonic.
Oh, no, the Hedgehog. You're done. You're done,
so
buddy.
I'm trying to be this guy that is showing his mom that I'm going to move out of your house and I'm going to make it. I'm going to do this. But I love my Sonic. So I kept it over at my friend's house, and I caught myself going out early to start hitting the salons and realize a lot of hairdressers don't get up early. You know, they started a little bit later.
Yeah.
So I started going over to my friend's house.
You got to burn a couple hours.
He would come home from his college day and go, did you go to work today? And I'm like, what? What time is it? Like, that's how far I got lost into Sonic. And I think as you're saying that, it wasn't that I was so lost into Sonic. There was a whole lot else going on there. I was afraid of failure. I was afraid of not making this thing work. And if I can prevent myself from truly failing, and knowing that I failed, then that's better. Hey, I was trying to go out there, but no one showed up to work.
Right.
No one's getting there at the time I get up.
Right.
So then I'm stuck playing that Sonic Hedgehog and I can't get off this stuff. So I'm in agreement with you. The escapism has been around forever, and it's getting easier and easier and easier than ever before. I mean, you talked about having to look at the stuff online. Is it real? I mean, I'm laughing because from across the pond, our good listener Paula posted some pictures.
Shout out to Paula.
Yeah, what's up, Paula? And I freaked out. I was like, wow, that's really cool. I had no idea she had so many tattoos. Like, it was great. And then I find out it's the AI chat GPT or whatever that converted it, but it's so good. And I'm thinking, I don't even want to start playing with that because I'm going to get lost in that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Exactly.
But I'm in a healthy place too, for the most part. But what if you're not? And I think that's what you're saying is it's so easy to get lost in this stuff and make yourself something that you personally don't feel that you are, losing the identity that God gave you, the purpose what God, because the world says you should be something totally different.
Yeah, and you can be awesome immediately.
Awesome.
And I want to also confess while we're in that mode of this episode, I played college football game day with my cousin. We started playing at 7 p.m. And at 7 a.m., he said, "You haven't won yet. Please stop." And the sun was up. And then I went to sleep.
Was this last week?
I wish. Yeah. I'm a little embarrassed to admit, but I was hardcore NASCAR as well.
Oh,
And you would play 4-player. And some of the meanest things I'd ever said to my younger brother when he was just a kid was in the context of him wrecking me. And so, like, I think I started, like, I don't own my kids. We keep them kind of locked in for 45 minutes. I don't any longer let myself go there
right.
because I want to confess it is a weakness for me. So I'm not speaking to something that has never been a thing or I don't get drawn into. I think where you and I share right now is we both probably have the capacity to pull out the Sega Genesis right now and lose 12 hours easy and just be college age kids again. Like, I think that's possible with both of us sitting here.
Oh,
so
absolutely.
for those of us listening, it's not from a, like, we're two people that don't get it, but I do think that that's, and what is that about? And I think there was two scriptures that really came to mind. One is Psalm 46:10. And it's so interesting. He says, be still and know that I am God. I will be exalted among the nations. I will be exalted in the earth. And I just thought, the culture that we're beginning to live in does not and will not encourage us to ever be still. It will continue to offer us, really what we're talking about is just super expensive, high tech, well put together distractions.
Right.
That's what we're talking about. And in their best moments can be fun and do have a role. Right. So it's not about totally saying that any of this stuff is terrible, but what do you do when now you're more or less detached from reality? Yeah. What do you do whenever now more of your passion is going into what level you're at on your second life or whatever it is, where you're putting more time, effort, energy, and intentionality into your second life than you are your first life? So
that's good.
Like, I think that's the thing is, like, if you find yourself already like just stopping, and I'm speaking to myself right now, stopping and being still, if that's a struggle, a legit struggle, just to think about like who God is and carving out time for him, that may be a sign that like the tempo is being set for you. Your attention span is being set for you. Right. Something else is driving that now. Right. And social media is as much of a culprit. Apps and stuff that can all of a sudden make you look like you're 30 years younger. Right. I've seen those now. Like on one level, it's hilarious. On the other level, like it's kind of crazy.
Have you seen the one that makes you look like 30 years older?
Yeah.
Oh, that freaked me out. Yeah. I'm like, Lord, please don't let me look like that. No, but I think that's so good because even my daughters, they're not old. I mean, they're in their 20s still.
Yeah.
And should be, at the height of this whole social media. They were at the height of it. I mean, these kids knew how to move the phone before, and it freaked me out. But I watch them now too, like my oldest, who literally got off all social media. And I said, why did you do that? And her response was, I'm starting to realize how much of a distraction it is to me. I can't get things done. It's causing rifts between me and other people. It's causing drama that I don't even necessarily need. And I'm like, wow, thank God you figured that out. But I think a lot of times we don't. And even let's go to non-social media and non-gaming. There's other things in life. I mean, the love for cars, the love for whatever, that we are, like you said, we have a first life. Every single one of us. I love that. We have a first life, which is our purpose, what God has created each and every one of us for. And then we have the second life that we're trying to create because of the stresses of the world and what the world says we should be. Or the pain that we've gone through that we're trying to cover up. You put it in there.
Yeah.
It's just like, there's so much. And you're right. There's so much available at our fingertips now.
Right.
That we can do.
Right.
And utilize. So mine isn't social media. Mine's not even, I don't know if you've heard this, like the times of like, I can't, if I pick up Candy Crush, I'm done. And I never got that. I mean, I tried Candy Crush and I'm like, this is lame. But Farmville, that did happen to me.
Yeah.
Farmville, when it first came out on Facebook, I was farming against my sister and like trying to make my farm bigger and better than hers. And I'm like,
yeah, I
have just wasted so much time with this. So I heard something the other day, and this will kind of tie in. It was stats, because truly this goes back to the old sayings, and old sayings are not bad. Okay. Like I'm starting to realize how much wisdom is in my grandfather and my grandmother's words and my parents, where we were brought up as this saying that says, "What you put in is what you become," or what you eat.
Yeah.
What is it? What you
You are what you
you
eat.
are what you eat. I
There it
remember
is.
that. Well, it's also what we put in, and it's biblical also. What goes into
Yeah.
the man, whatever. It's not what goes in. It's what comes out that defiles him.
Mhm.
And so it's all going to cause something like that. And so I heard these stats that a non-Bible reader, a changed life is obviously, nothing on the stats. They said 1 or 2 times a day, it's minuscule of a
Yeah.
change. At 3, you start to see a significant change of 3 days reading the Bible a week. They said 4 or more was alarmingly drastic.
Hmm.
Like that's when they started to see. And again, you are what you eat, what you put in. You're putting in a power and a truth there, and that's where I've had people ask me, "Well, how do you do it? How do you do it?" That's the simplest way. Like you don't even have to understand it. That's the power of God's word.
Yeah.
What you put in, just read it. Just read it and
Yeah.
and and put it in and go through it. Read a Proverbs every day. Read a Psalms every day. Whatever it is. That was what my mentor taught me because I couldn't figure out. He said, "There's 31 Proverbs, and there's a whole bunch of Psalms. You got one proverb for every day of the month of any given month, and you've got one Psalm for 100 and whatever,
Yeah.
you know, and you can keep adding. And what that did, it says 4 more times, it's in the 30 to 40 percentile or more with isolation, with anxiety,
Oh
with
yeah.
stress,
Yep.
with
Yep.
fear,
Yep.
all these things, and then also um, change, physical, mental clarity, and everything in the body is just insane. What they started seeing up to the 50 percentile, pornography fell off 50% from people who were addicted to pornography and drinking, that were true alcoholics, 50% or more of 4 days or more a week. That to me was like, wow.
Wow.
So again, it
Yeah.
begs the question: if you might not be putting in anything or think you're putting in anything bad, but creating an altered state or an altered reality of just violence,
Yeah.
in a shooting game or whatever. You're like, it's all fake. But what it's creating is so much more.
Yeah. And I think this would be a great idea. Like for me, it's not video games, even though that is one big part of this discussion.
Right.
For me, in my role, it tends to be social media and like email. I mean, if I were to just confess, like that's where I will struggle.
Mm-hmm.
I tend to let people that are not in the room affect me with my relationships with the people that are in the room.
That's good.
And you'll know when that happens. Like in whether, and I have someone in my life, I happen to be married to her, that will let me know, like right now you're acting differently. Your actual disposition, your actual temperament is not the same with the people in the room right now as a net result of what you were scrolling through,
Yeah.
whether it be problems related to work or whether it be something with social media that I'm picking up. You think about all the things that we all may look at, whether it's a video game or otherwise, that raise just your blood pressure or your like you said, stress and anxiety and everything else. So that would be the other thing I would ask, if you want to kind of do a self-assessment, is number one, do you sense that it's changing the nature of a relationship with someone else? Or do you have someone that you would otherwise say that you love and would otherwise say that they love you, that's telling you that's a thing?
Yeah.
And so for me, I go back to Psalm 46:10. It's not something that I can speak to that I do really well. Video games, not a problem, but other forms
Mm-hmm.
mess with me. So for me, I've just the cumulative toll of that. I'm taking some time away, like we've talked about,
Right.
just to reset everything in my world. But part of it is that, just like get all of that toxicity out, be
Right.
still and know that he's God, trust him, reinvest. And I would encourage anybody that's able to do something similar, whether it just is for a full day or for a weekend, wherever you're at in your marriage and your relationship, if that's becoming a thing, like
14 days in Hawaii.
that's it. 14 days in Hawaii. But I mean, I think that's critical, man.
Yeah, no, that's really good. It's funny you say that too, because it just hit me. I used to argue with my wife. I told you I used to smoke heavily cigarettes, and to me it wasn't an issue. Like it's just what I did.
Yeah.
I was smoking since I was, I don't know, 13, and when it began to scare her, that's really what it was. It was a concern. Like I want you to live. I want you to be here for our kids.
Yeah.
And there's not good statistics on this. Uh, it was a problem for me because I was addicted. I mean, they say nicotine is, I forgot how many more times addictive than heroin, which I
Dang.
I fought over and over again. I was like, no, they're liars. They're liars. I'm like fighting it. But
Fistful of cigarettes in each hand. Lies, all lies.
Exactly. But there was a pain that was associated with physical pain that was associated whenever I tried to quit, where I literally felt like someone had a knife in the back of my head, like just barreling down on me. So I would fight that. But the one thing that she would say is whenever she would know when I was smoking, because I didn't want to tell her. My head, I'm going, she's trying to manipulate me to quit smoking.
Right.
She's just loving me. But she would always say when I was hiding it, I mean, I was good too. I mean, listen, I was an addict. I'm good. Addicts are great at hiding. And so I'm hiding this. I had every cologne you can imagine to hide the smell. I knew brush my teeth and have extra sprays and everything from my mouth.
Wow.
You'd never smell it.
Wow.
Like most people go, I never knew you were a smoker because I hid it from the normal public too.
Wow.
Yeah, it was crazy because I didn't want anyone to go back and go, I didn't know Daniel smoked. Like I was like, I'm covering all bases. But she would tell me, are you smoking again? And I'm like, I know she's not smelling. I said, no, why would you say that? She goes, you're different when you smoke. You're different when you smoke. And I'm like, that's the craziest thing I've ever heard. Well, I think there's two parts to that. I think it's what you said. Things change you, whether you see it or not.
Yeah.
And my, in particular one too, was also probably my own. I mean, I'm not dead, so it's the own guilt that I know that I'm hiding something from people. Even from the public, I'm hiding things. So what does that do to you? I've never even thought about that.
Yeah.
So again, being involved in something that even the world is saying, like I know people who are coming to me going, how do we help this person? With their addiction, whatever it is, from gaming to pornography to, whatever it is. They know we're talking about it. They already are feeling it.
Yeah.
They know it's an issue, but they don't. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm not willing to admit it yet. And so as that starts to create, oh gosh, there's probably some unnoticed shame and guilt.
Yeah.
That's
no doubt.
there. So how do you, and again, from a pastoral standpoint, when someone comes to you, and maybe it's not gaming, we're just talking something that's wreaking havoc in someone's life in general.
Yeah.
When a parent or a husband or a wife or something come to you and say, there's an issue here. How do you help navigate that to help the person who doesn't want to be helped or doesn't know they need help?
Ooh, man, when you start getting to, and that's a critical piece, what you just said at the tail end of that sentence. Helping a person that wants to be helped. Yeah. That can be addressed. That is hey, now that's put a light on it. You can't keep it in the dark. That's accountability piece. That's checking in with that person. What are your triggers? What environment do we probably need to stay away from? What connections lead you down a path that's no good? How do you own what those urges are and communicate that openly? I think, though, sometimes for people that don't want to be helped or don't think they have a problem, and I've seen this, if we were to kind of almost flip topics like alcohol, or some other kind of an addiction, sometimes like they just haven't been hit hard enough with reality. And I'm not advocating for and happy or fine with when people finally have to, deal with a hard reality that may be really rough on their marriage. Because I realize for every person that's got an addiction, there's another person that's having to bear the brunt of them coming to that reality.
Right.
And sometimes that has to hit somebody else pretty hard before they realize, like, wow, this thing is literally coming between me and my spouse, or becoming me and my family, or me and my friendships. It's actually stealing, killing, and destroying, like, the things that God has promised for me to have. And I think, sometimes I really do think this, Daniel. Like, I think sometimes people just have to hit a place where the person that may be having to watch this person, like you said, was smoking. Like, you're just being confronted. Like, this is a problem. This is an issue. And for that person who is seeing that change in behavior to have the confidence to know that, like, they have every right to plant a flag and go, no, you're not going to burn 4 hours of your life as a grown adult doing X, Y, or Z.
Right.
Does it frustrate me sometimes when when my loving wife will call me out on things? But here's the thing. She's right.
Yeah.
She is right.
Yeah.
So, like, I'm not like trying to advocate, like, hey, you got to fight with that person in your life. But sometimes there's a fine line between fighting for them and fighting with them.
I'm going to put you on the spot.
Oh, geez.
when, and probably not all the time, but
Yeah.
when your wife points something out,
Yep.
that she's right.
Yeah.
Let's just talk real. Do you have reactions that also are not right?
Of course.
What does that look like? Like,
of course. Did you see me sit up in the seat? Like, how dare you go there, sir? No, I can tell you one. Like she called me out just like 24 hours ago. And my initial reaction, and I mean, like, the first couple seconds, just like Adam.
Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't do anything wrong. This is your fault. Whatever, just indignant. But when truth is spoken,
it's uncomfortable.
It's uncomfortable. And she spoke truth. And I recognized truth. And I have a person in my life that's not going to let that slide.
Right.
Do I initially like, oh yeah, you're right? Not always.
Yeah.
So I do think I'm not, and I'm trying to parse my words here, because what I don't want our listeners to hear is that you have a person, let's say, with a gaming addiction, and it's all on the other person to fix this.
Right.
That's not fair either. But I do want the other person, let's put it back in the gaming camp, to have the confidence and to know that they can hold their ground, that that's not okay. Right. Now, as we just pointed out, the flip side to that is, can that person receive in a relationship where their greatest desire, is it the game, or is it that relationship, that they can receive the information that may be hard to hear?
Right.
So, in your case, they know you well enough to know you're not even the same person when you're smoking. You can fool planet Earth, but not me.
Yeah.
My wife can look at me and go, I know when you've spent too much time either on your email, on social media, you're not the same person right now. You're shorter with me. You're shorter with the kids.
Yeah.
I can't hide it. It's the same kind of thing, just a different angle.
Yeah.
Now, that's not her problem, but she does, as the person who loves me, is willing to speak truth. I'm thankful for it. Now, he's not always right away. Yeah. But it's there, you know?
Yeah. I found with myself, whenever truth hits me that I don't want to hear, it causes embarrassment.
Yeah.
And then embarrassment causes anger.
Yeah.
And kind of a weird one. This actually happened twice in one day on Sunday. And I'm going to chalk it up to this. God was showing me something. It was like, I saw something in me that I didn't like being embarrassed. And my reaction to embarrassment is to be the tough guy, because I'm going to write it off.
Yeah.
Walk away because it's safer. But it happened. We went to a concert on Sunday, had a great time, me and my wife, and we decided to beat the crowd and leave early.
Yeah.
So we can get out of the parking garage. And as we came up, there's by the seat area behind it is a walkway, and then there's the lawn area. And so we decided there was a good song playing. I was like, "Oh wait, just stop one more time.
Right.
We're
There it
gonna
is.
watch this
There it
one.
is.
We're halfway out, so we're still ahead of everyone." And we're watching it, and I see this lady walking over to me. I'm used to having the all access pass because I usually go out to see these guys.
Wow.
So this is a concert I didn't know anyone in, and I didn't have an all access pass, but I knew what she was coming to do, and I didn't have status. And she was like,
Dang.
"You," and she was nice too. She was like, "Hey, y'all can't sit." And I go, "That's fine, it's fine, whatever." And I just walked off. And I'm walking off going, "Why did I just snap at her?"
Right.
Because I'm embarrassed. Because I wasn't, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
And immediately after, Josh, this is like craziest thing. My wife says, "Like, let me go to the restroom first, and then we'll leave." So I'm waiting for her, and I start to walk because I see her, and I'm walking, but I'm also walking on my phone, right? Talking on my phone or typing on my phone, and I hear a very quick, brief, wait, oh, and I hear explicit, and I knocked over 2 beers.
Oh
I
no.
walked in between a man who was, I think, taking pictures of his wife and someone else who had set their beers down in the middle. He tried to stop me. I kicked him over completely. And these are $12 beers, $24 of alcohol going all over the ground. And immediately he actually looked at me and I went, "This is so bad. So if you're watching, this is not who I am." I went, I walked off. I'm just being real. And
We're
then,
so glad you tuned in today.
and and then I told Lynette, like, I was like, let's go. Because I'm like, this guy's going to follow me. That's $24 a beer I just knocked over. And we bailed out and we went in and we hit the parking garage and I was overcome with like grief. And she goes, "What is wrong?" I go, "I feel so horrible." And I told her what I did. And she goes, "Do you want to go back?" And I go, "I can't get back in now." And I go, I feel horrible. She goes, "Daniel, listen, one, you may have saved that guy from a drive with maybe that was too much already. We don't know.
Mm.
2, take note of it and stop being this way. Is God trying to tell you something here? That you're letting because what I want, I go, I should have just stopped and I had $25 in my pocket and I should have just taken it out and went, "I am so sorry. Go buy some more beer."
Yeah.
I was so embarrassed, the shame, I turned into a nasty person.
Yeah.
So kind of,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's the way we change and the things so that's one thing that I'm like, I got to work on, when things bother me, when someone is pointing something out that is just true. "Hey, you just knocked over my beers. Hey, you can't stand here.
Yeah.
Why do I got to get angry?"
Yeah. Well, and God's so clear, like he is faithful. And when we bring before him with a broken and contrite heart, like those are honored prayers, that confession to him. And I think a lot of this, where this comes full circle, is just acknowledging what we are. Like, the reality is, was that your shining moment? No, but you're at least in a place of like the realization is huge, right? Like, owning that is huge. That's a big part of just self-examination, of looking at one's own heart before God. And I think that's honored, man. I think that's God's heart for us. So I think really, when it comes back to this whole idea of like gaming and everything else that can consume our time, I think it really has to come back to just an honest self-reflection. I think and I think when we're thinking about like rest and what that means, that's not just like, oh, I'm gonna take a nap all day, but it's like really reflecting on who God is, what God created you to do, what was his purpose, So we forget that whenever it's like on the 7th day, God rested, and remember the Sabbath and keep it holy. It's this idea that, even going back to the Old Testament, like, that we would enter into his rest. He says that all the time in the Old Testament. And then it becomes that the children of Israel want to be led into this, the promised land, which was symbolic of this land of rest. And the land of rest eventually is pointing people to their eternal rest, which is in heaven, right? So it's the idea that you would remember, you would keep the Sabbath holy, and remembering that there's this beautiful promise for you. And I think if I had any kind of like 2 cents for anybody out there listening, like escapism enables us to just keep moving and going and going and going and never having to really deal with reality.
Mm-hmm.
And if we don't have to deal with reality, then we don't have to deal with ourselves. And if we don't have to deal with ourselves, we don't have to deal with the condition of our hearts. And if we don't have to deal with the condition of our hearts, we don't have to consider where's our relationship with God. And even more importantly, what is his love and relationship and pursuit of us and our identity? And then you can't even get to what's driving some of the things that we do.
Right.
So I think that's where a lot of these things like begin to come together of that idea of like just hit pause, quite literally.
Yeah.
And take some time out with him.
Yeah. That's good. Well, so that's good. I think we'll wrap this up with this is, we had mentioned, I mean, if someone's watching this and listening to this and some of this is hitting your heart, and maybe you're going, yeah, my wife yells at me all the time, or my friends always yell at me about this stuff. And, maybe that's speaking to you. Maybe you don't know why things are, the way they are, or maybe you're dealing with someone that you absolutely love, like my wife was dealing with. It goes, I don't know how to talk to him about this because every time I do, he loses it. If any of that's hitting you, I mean, again, we've said over and over and over again, a simple prayer is just help. Or God, if there's something I need to see, if there's something I'm missing, show it to me. The God of the universe that tells the stars, or tells the waters where to stop, tells the stars in the sky not to fall out and kill us, the sun from not being a millimeter or whatever closer that would have, he's put all this into place.
Yeah.
He's built you, he's built me, and he wants that relationship.
Yeah.
And he wants to talk to us, and he wants to share it. So I just say, ask God for that. And then two, for the ones that are struggling, maybe you have someone you love that you're like, I keep trying to help them and it's not working.
Yeah.
It's frustrating. I understand that because I've been on both sides of that. Well, like Duffy said, you can't help someone until they're ready to be helped.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So loving someone, but not enabling, is one of the greatest things you can do. And when the healing comes, I promise you, that is always a remembrance to them. You never left my side. You always loved me. You never said it was okay. You never, and I heard that over and over again, not from me, but from so many other people out there. They're like, my mom, she was always there. She never gave up on me. She always loved me. She didn't enable me, but those are things that are memorable. That's Jesus. Yeah. That's being Jesus. So, and then three, it'll be the next podcast because it's too long right now. There was a massive aha moment my wife and I had that discovered a power, and this isn't a mystical power or anything weird. This is a power that we have had for so many years, that we've experienced, that we have truth in, that we've completely missed. And I want to share that with you guys here coming up, and I think it'll blow your mind. So anything else on?
No, that's stellar, man. Why don't you pray us out?
All right, cool. Heavenly Father, thank you again just for the opportunity to be hanging out with you, to be hanging with our friends all around the world, 26 countries. You are just doing great things. So, Father, I pray for everyone in earshot that if something we've said, that we've just prayed diligently, Lord, for your words, for your truth, to speak to them, to pierce our hearts and talk to us. Lord, I pray that happens. I pray that's happening now. And Lord, that we would not be afraid to come to you and just ask for help, or just ask for knowledge and wisdom, because all knowledge and wisdom comes from you. Lord, give us a peace in our hearts. And Lord, also encourage us, the ones that are in the background, trying to love on someone who we know needs help, and we can see the destruction going on, but the help isn't wanted, to stand firm and to love in a way that only you can love. And I pray, Father, for those who may have something going on that can't even see it, Lord, that they would feel your love, that you love them right where they are, and all you want them to do is just come hang out with you and see what would happen. Because again, it's just good being around you, being in your word, talking to you, being with you changes lives. And we pray that for everyone. And we just love you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. See you guys.
Right on.
Bye.
Bye.